continue with the Yoga Vashista. As long as there does not arise a natural yearning for self-knowledge, so long this ignorance or mental conditioning throws up an endless stream of world appearance. Even the yearning for self-knowledge means self-awareness, knowing yourself as aware. This yearning, he said before, can bring about a change. In fact, the very desire to undertake this inquiry is able to bring about a change.
I think it was last night, Marion and I were talking, or I was talking, both of us were talking. Do you remember, Marianne? We were talking about earnest and urge.
Yes.
Last night, and we said, gee, my dad, that's a difficult word for us. Our purpose is liberation, but we don't have the same urges and passions that we did when we were younger. As we've gotten older, there has been a sort of a calmness. We know what we're looking for. We know what we would like to have, in a sense. But there's not that sort of how you describe urge for yourself. And so we really wanted you to maybe talk about it for us.
Maybe the mind perceives or interprets an urge as something that we are conditioned to going out. And actually, when you're less and less desires, then actually the urge is to withdraw into yourself. The urge is to return because the mind seeks the self only in order to dissolve itself in the self. The tendency is to perceive an urge of doing, taking action, being motivated, where actually as one gets physically older and their mind gets more mature, it's about withdrawing. It's like less action, less
activity.
And I've noticed with people who are either sick or getting old and they are getting ready to leave, whether it's few months or year, what happens for them? The urge is there, the yearning is there, because what are they doing? They are withdrawing from the objective world inwardly, more inwardly, and maybe due to grace they have the opportunity to experience who they are. Maybe not, and they just stay on identified as a separate entity, yet living the objective world. I notice it with I'll take my father for example. Before he passed away, in the few months, he would sit for hours and hours with his eyes closed on the edge of the bed, erect, without leaning. Did he have the urge for liberation? The thing is that he was just leaving the world alone. He withdrawn. Actually, his desires when his attention was at, to eat food. Yet, how much one can eat? So he ate, and once it was enough for him, and he was going out a little bit watching TV, yet after a certain point, he lost interest, or something was stronger pulling his mind inwardly. So at times I would sit in the room and there would be 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours we were sitting, and he momentarily would open his eyes and then close his eyes, and he was inward. Basically, he lost the objective world. He lost the perception, yet he wasn't sleeping. He wasn't sleeping. He wasn't unconscious sleeping. Maybe he wished he would be sleeping. Yet he would be like that sometimes all night sitting.
All night sitting.
All night sometimes sitting because he couldn't sleep. So basically, something more powerful was drawing his attention inward.
Are they? Oh, they're inward. They definitely have most of the time. I would be watching my mother sitting, sort of like her father, but there seemed to be nobody home.
Sometimes you can say, you look at me as we wander around. Sometimes you can say there's nobody home either, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Different. It's different.
Okay.
How's it different? Outside it looks fairly the same.
Okay.
It does. It looks the same almost. For me I've sat many hours and days with my mother like that, in a sense.
Okay.
And I was always, but there was a window, so I didn't know if she was really looking outside, but it didn't appear that she was really focused on anything.
It means her attention went inward. What was going on inward, we do not know.
It could have been thoughts.
Yeah, it can be dreaming.
It could have been dreaming too.
Yeah.
And it could also been, if we know the Tibetan way of doing things is like reading the Book of the Dead.
Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Tibetan Book of the Dead, and reading that to somebody who is in that stage of their existence.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
And then the Tibetans also read for 49 days.
Prayers.
I guess prayers or statements, it's in Tibetan, for 49 days to the body.
Not to the body, to the spirit.
To
of
the spirit.
body,
That's
which is, it's the mind. The individual mind that identified with that particular body.
is still present.
Maybe
Possible.
and maybe not. It doesn't have to.
Yeah.
There's no, some live earlier, some live later, some don't want to live.
So for Marion at our age of life, and we were, as you can witness that, is that they were very interested in becoming liberated as much as we can, what's left to our life. But again, we don't have that kind of passion that we remember that action outside. So it's a little confusing, are we?
It's not confusing, it's a good sign. It means you can leave the world alone. And again, you don't become liberated. You're already liberated. Just remove the false notion that you are a separate entity.
Thank you.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
what is the evidence that right now that which is aware, looking through the eyes, hearing through the ears, is limited? This aware is already free. It is inside the form, free from the form. It's inside the thoughts, free from thoughts.
You also mentioned at the time about acceleration. So we look at that word and we look at our age and we say, well, it's not a bad idea
To accelerate.
To accelerate.
It's a good idea to accelerate through the inquiry regardless the age, because nobody knows when the life force is going to leave the body. Chronologically it seems like somebody older is going to be sooner, yet something can happen and the one who imagined that he has long time, the time for the body is up and it's finished. Some sages, some beings left the body when they were 36, 42, 45. Some 120, 190, 80, 70, different. So, accelerating, when inquiry awakens within you, the acceleration to break free from the tendencies of believing there is a believer that believes itself to be a personal I, a limited I. That's the inquiry will do. That's why he said, inquiry into the nature of the self dispels this ignorant, self-limiting tendency. As long as there does not arise a natural yearning for self-knowledge, so long this ignorance or mental conditioning throws up an endless stream of world appearance. That means if that yearning does not wake up, the world appearance continuously projecting itself. It's fragments of projections, yet it appears to be continuously. And that means world appearance is body identification, right? Because the appearance of the body is through the sense perception, and the appearance of the world is through the sense perception. And if you go back to what in the non-dual he's pointing, and to everyone's experience, the ego is always outward bent, taking the world to be real. Okay? And once it takes the world to be real, that means it is a physical body. That's what it believes. Then it is the doer of actions, walking, talking, grabbing, enjoying, doing, experiencing, okay? Either pleasure or pain.